Hello and welcome to the second part of the tutorial where I'll be showing you how I'll create the base structure of the project. And I am assuming that you have IntelliJ installed. If you don't, let me show you just real quick where you can find it. So let's just go to Google, and here you can simply search for IntelliJ download. So when you search for IntelliJ download, you'll see some links from jetbrains.com, and it's usually the first link, so it says download IntelliJ ID. So let me just click on that, and here we can see real quick that since I'm using macOS, it is selected on that. Otherwise, you can choose Windows, macOS, and Linux depending on your operating system, and you'll have to download the community version because that's the free and open source one. You can download the ultimate version, you have more options in that, but it's gonna expire I think within 30 days. But for this automation tutorial, the community version works just fine. So once you download, you'll just have to follow the steps. I think it's just simply by clicking on next and next and so on. Alright, once you have IntelliJ installed, let's create a new project within IntelliJ, and we are going to choose Maven. If you are installing it the first time, I think you're going to have Java selected, but you can simply go to Maven. And I'm not really gonna mess with anything from here. I'm going to use the default settings. If you don't have the SDK installed, please make sure that you have that and have the correct one selected. So let's just click on next, and here we can give it a group ID. So let's just give it a simple group ID. Let's call it com.automation.framework. It doesn't really matter what we name it, this is just for simplicity. And the artifact ID, let's just name it a test automation framework. There we go. And the artifact ID should be passed on as a project name. So let's click on next, and we can see here the project name is called test automation framework, and it is located in IDEA project. So that is just fine. So let's click on finish. So what we should see is a new project, and the first thing that opens up should be the pom.xml file. And what I'm going to do real quick is, if we see down here, we have two options, and the first option says import changes and enable auto import. So the import changes option is for manual. So if you want to import everything manually, or if you want to do everything manually with Maven, but I'm going to use enable auto import just for simplicity. So whenever we add dependencies, whenever we do something, it's automatically going to install it for us. So what we need to do is to add two basic dependencies. So in the pom.xml file, which is this, let me just show you. If I open the structure, here it says pom.xml. So it is this file that is open right now. So the first thing I'm going to do is just to add a dependencies block. And within this dependencies block, I'm going to add all the dependencies that I need. So let's start off by going to Google, and let me just navigate to Google, and you need to go to Maven repository. So Maven repository, and here you can simply search for the dependencies you need. So since we're using testng, let's just search for testng, and the first option should be testng. Let's just click on that. And there are a lot of versions, but I'm going to use the almost a recent one. I'm going to use 6.13. It doesn't really matter what version you use. And let me just copy the dependency block itself. Let's go to the project, and within the dependencies block, I'll just add the dependency. And since I've clicked on enable auto import, it should automatically import everything for me. Let me just go back to Google and Maven repository, and let's search for Selenium. And the one we need for this project is Selenium Java, and I'll use 3.8.0. Again, it doesn't really matter which one you use, as long as it is one of the latest ones. So I'll just copy the dependency block, and here I'll just paste it. So now you see here it's resolving the dependencies, so it's automatically importing everything for us from the Maven repository. So now I have two dependencies, testng and Selenium Java, so that is good enough for us right now. So let's look in the, so it's right, but when it's done importing, it's gonna go away. So let's look in the structure itself. We have source, main, and test. So let's just open these up. So what I'll do here is I have a resources directory within the main directory. So I'll just drag and drop it to the test directory. And the reason for that is within resources, I'll have XML files to use with testng. Later on in this tutorial, I'll show you eventually. And in the main Java, basically what I'll do is I'll create a new package called base. Here I'll have the base util class, and let's create another package within Java, and let's call this pages. So this is where I'll have all the page object classes. And within test Java, let's create a package here, and I'll just call this test for simplicity's sake. So this is our base setup, and I'll move on from here in the next tutorial.